I'll see. But that's going to be the first matchup coming up here is the Burn Mage versus the Libran Paladin from Turna. And getting into game after all this time.
And Turna has access to a curve with the 2 right-hand cards of his mulligan if he wants to hold on to Crab Rider even without a specific buff for it. I've seen people in both camps of this side. There's people who toss it away hoping to find something like Hand of a Doll, or specifically Hand of a Doll, to go along with First Day of School. But I definitely think that in a matchup where your opponent is playing things like the Confection Elemental and 1/2s, the minion presence and rush can be very significant. Oh, Skipper.
And Infectious Sporling. These are some interesting 1-drops.
Pretty spicy.
Yeah.
But Sporling I tend to treat as like a pseudo-poisonous minion, just in the way that the kind of plays it discourages from your opponent. I don't think it's a particularly big annoyance for Trahizan. He could just see this as a 2-1 in essence.
Yeah, the annoying part is, though, when you give your opponent an Infectious Sporling, and then it also prevents you from playing big minions, so it can sometimes work against you in weird scenarios, but... like right now. Interesting for Treason went for the Cyclone instead of Elemental Allies first. I guess it doesn't change the clock on when he would be able to complete the Elemental Allies side quests, because next turn he's likely to go Elemental Allies plus Sugar Elemental.
I think he's all in this for the minion presence, because he knows that if the Sporling bumps in, Treason gets his own Sporling, and strangely enough, the Crab Rider cannot deal with it because the Crab Rider will turn into a Sporling.
This is ridiculous. It's just going to keep happening. They're just going to keep playing 1 minion a turn, and then they're going to attack it, and it's going to become an Infectious Sporling.
And in the grand scheme of things, I think Trahizan is perfectly fine with that pan out, because he will be able to still activate the side quest even if the Sugar Elementals don't stay Elementals. When they're played, they're Elementals. And all he has to do is use that time to accumulate card draw, and when it's there, he's more likely to get things like Arcane Explosion, or even just more spell damage to get the missiles down and clear whatever Sporlings are left on the other side.
But can finally get rid of the Infectious Sporling, and
when it hits itself, it heals back up.
But now this is awkward.
The first spore.
But now Trahizan can attack the Sugar Elemental into the Infectious Sporling, turning it into an Infectious Sporling.
Correct.
And then it could hit the Solid's Pride and turn that into an Infectious Sporling. Nah. Well, it would only have 1 health, so. But does it work that way? Will it transform before it dies? Nah, because then that minion.
How does he hit?
Never mind.
How does he hit the Solid's Pride even with a Sporling? I mean, it would have to be Turna to do the trade, right? But I don't even think he's necessarily going to hit the Sporling. I feel like he just trades into the Solid's Pride.
Yeah. I was just going down the Infectious Sporling rabbit hole.
That does not sound fun.
No, it's not. Don't recommend it. All right, Outdoor Attendant picked up. Decent, but still not a lot of board presence. And Imprisoned Phoenix on the other side, seeing the spells drawn from the Burn Mage is not looking good for Turna here.
Yeah, the lack of attack on his 1-drops has made everything very awkward, because you cannot use the Sporling to incrementally take trades and destroy a minion over 2 turns because whatever you hit goes right back up to 2 health. I still don't think this necessarily warrants a broom usage though. Maybe Turna can just hero power, send the Sporling face, prepare for the worst because the Phoenix will be active soon, and then eventually clean up with even Libra of Justice plus Risky Skipper, which is a combo I have not seen very often, but looks pretty strong.
Yeah, looks incredibly strong. Ooh, Cram Session picked up for Trahezen. That's going to be quite juicy next turn.
Indeed.
Oh, could even go for hold on to this discounted Kobold Geomancer. Actually, wouldn't even have hand space, right?
Yeah.
+3 spell damage before cards. Yeah.
Could be an Apprentice turn next turn. This deck has some freedom of how to use Apprentice. You're not saving it for a big evocation like you would in other decks or for the big Mozaki turn. Can just be used for maximum board presence and spell efficiency. Okay, so Turna does not necessarily want to develop much because he knows the Phoenix is active next turn. Everything could just get swept up by spells. So just minimizing the damage on the other side is where my head would be at if I were Turna.
I wonder.
Maybe just using the Crab Rider to make some trades.
Yeah, like that, and you can leave the 3-2 up. Not the cleanest, but the best he's got. His hand is extremely reactive at the moment. Argent Braggart really not looking like it's the greatest at the moment, but if Turna can survive until the Brim of Hope, then suddenly the Braggart can be an 8-8, and it could be a different story, but there is so much damage in Trahezen's hand that it's looking pretty scary. They're multiplying!
What? Wait, what does this give him more health on the board? I don't think so. Right? Because his Crab Rider would have still been a 1-2.
Correct. He
and
lost the Wind Fury to have a Sporling effect.
Yeah.
Probably not a big difference in the grand scheme of things, but it's just funny to watch.
Yeah.
Oh, he did not hit the explosion. I think that's what Trahezen is a bit upset about.
Still hit some good stuff, though. Another Elemental Allies with a way to get it active next turn. Oh, huh. I was thinking he was going to go Violet Spellwing this turn and maybe throw out Arcane Missiles. And then get the Elemental Allies.
Wow. I think Trahezen went for one thief willfully looking for either another Arcane Missiles or a Ray of Frost to just clear up as much as he can. Because this board presence is nothing to scoff at. Turna needed something exactly like Skipper to go with Libram of Justice if it's not the Barov Broom combo.
Well, he does have to clear.
You would still have to toss the Broom in order to activate the Skipper, unless you'd rather toss the Penflinger, but I feel that Penflinger is more valuable.
It's
Oh, okay. So with this way, he just doesn't use the Libram at all. Yeah, I didn't spot this, but it is much cleaner, isn't it? Because my play would have still just used the Broom anyway.
Yeah, but you also leave your Risky Skipper vulnerable. Because the other way around, the Risky Skipper would have still been at 2 health, and the board would have been clear.
This way he develops an Argent Braggart, and it's in, I guess, a Blessing of Wisdom. Just cycled for 1 here. It was very tempting to try and get the Penflinger to work with it, but that is just a disaster with the Skipper on board, so I'm glad Turna did not go for it. Ras is insane here. Hello?
Oh my-
Hello. This is a Burn Mage deck, which already naturally runs Raz.
Yeah, when you get a card off Jandis that you're putting in your deck anyway, that's quite good. I mean, Turner again has ways to deal.
Indeed, he does. It's quite awkward. I think you can safely fling the Kodo and know that that's the illusion. Unfortunately, the flingers have to happen pre-Libram of Justice. So there's still going to be the Violet Spellwing left on board the other side. Turna is, I guess, not in the worst spot because even though his board clears the past couple of turns have been very expensive, he will most likely safely arrive at a Libram of Hope turn and try and go from there. Cherryson counting up whether this is a 2-turn lethal. Lots of damage. This could just be Mana Reservoir and send a Fireball face. Which would deal 7, and then he has another 7 plus 4 from Fireball Frostball next turn, and then the Arcane Missiles.
It's going to be close. Going to put Turner on the back foot for pretty much this whole game. That's a given here. Only going to go up to 16, which doesn't really feel safe against this amount of burn.
Especially with another missiles in hand. Oh, more spell damage. No Apprentice makes this a little bit iffy, but you would have to get very unlucky with the missiles, I think, for this to not be lethal. Well, I guess there's not enough mana to do everything he wants to do.
He can go Fireball, triple missiles. It's one off. One off the guarantee because the Fireball kills the 8/8 and then the triple missiles each. I mean, do you go for it?
Each deal 15. I can see a line where he does explosions on this and then missiles. So you kind of save the Fireball in hand, kind of inefficiently deal with this 8/5. But you have the maximum amount of damage to face over 2 turns.
Yeah. Yeah, double explosion and then just unleash all the missiles.
Yeah, that's where my head was at.
Okay, this plays around the Libram of Judgment. Because the Libram of Judgment would be corrupted right now.
Oh wow, this was, one off in a different
Did he get it? Oh, he got him!
That is...
I was looking, I was like, wait a second. He actually has a chance here, but I didn't realize it was going to come down to a 50-50. I thought it'd be much less likely than that, but that was pretty insane.
It absolutely was. Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure if that was completely calculated, but if there's a chance to get lethal exactly on that turn, I think Ombre is right to go for it because it's, aside from Libram of Judgment, like you mentioned, as being additional heal possible for Turna, there's also second Libram of Hope that Trahisan would possibly have to worry about. And in both of those cases, the Arcane Missiles become less and less likely to deal damage to the face if there's more minion development. So naturally, where my brain would go is trying to make sure that as many missiles can go face before more other targets appear on the board. So Trahisan had that ability to go for it on top of spotting a way to find immediate lethal, and he was rewarded.
Yeah, very nicely done. And once again, we see the Libram Paladin struggle on stream, and once again, we see insert mage deck here have success. Obviously, we have a very small sample size of the total matches that are happening across the Swiss round here, but it just seems to be the story that's being told now. Trahisan decks remaining: the Zoo Warlock and Whirl Kick Rogue. So another relatively aggressive deck to fight Turner's aggressive lineup, and the Whirl Kick Rogue, which I honestly don't even know how to classify it. It's rogue. It's the same rogue that we've seen for a year, 2 years. It has lackeys and a bunch of spells and questing adventures.
It is different from Turna's Rogue, which did get banned away. It doesn't have Whirl Kick in that version. Instead, the Stealth and Weapon package, the most aggressive, I would say, out of all of the Rogue archetypes. But this Whirl Kick Rogue, like you said, has a lot of aggression possible because of pretty much just Nitro Boost Poison and the Eviscerates in there, on top of having lots of card generation from Whirl Kick itself, from the Evil Miscreants, and consistent draw from Secret Passage. The beating heart of the deck, in my opinion, though, is Questing Adventurer. This card is the most threatening individual card in the entire deck, and all of those 0-cost spells at the top end and all these cheap 1-cost minions are what let the questing consistently get up to 4 or 5 health when it's played early.
Yeah, and early Questing Adventure unchecked is gonna, spell the end of many decks, especially if you play Questing Adventure used to take tempo against, one of these, aggressive tempo-style decks like Zoo Warlock or Token Druid that Turna has in his lineup. Then they don't really have answers to Questing Adventure, outside of Nature Studies or the double lunar eclipse. Dealing with a 5 health Questing Adventure even is quite difficult.
And it's good that Rogue has that sort of counterplay to Druid, because the same is true that Rogue doesn't have answers for a Glowfly Swarm or even 3 or 4 Treants, let alone a wide full board of them. So Rogue's best game plan is to instead put down their own threat early and threaten a lethal earlier than the Druid can threaten a Savage Roar. Problem is, Druid is also running Gibberling, which I have seen one too many screenshots of people just facing down a full board of Gibberlings on turn 1.
Yep. The old Gibberling coin, Nature Studies, adorable infestation. It's like
Bloom,
5/1/1s and a 2/2. Yeah, Bloom, Power of the Wild, full board, and they're all
gibbering.
Dude, it's a nightmare. All right, moving into game number 2 here. He's playing the Rogue that we talked about, and does have the Questing Adventure 0-mana spell start and turn a Crab Rider Blessing of Wisdom. That can be a combo that can be used early on, but gonna hunt for something else. Gets back a Penflinger on the mulligan. Oh, there it is.
Ooh. Perfect curve for Turna. Crab Rider Blessing of Wisdom is kind of a package deal in a lot of cases, but there's also worlds where the Crab Rider does not immediately have anything to rush into, and if your opponent instead removes it on the turn it gets played, suddenly the Blessing gets stranded in hand. So I kind of like the approach from Turna. Keeping Salhat's Pride is something I do almost 100% of the time on Libram Paladin, just because it's such a powerful cascading card draw effect.
Yeah. I probably would have 3-kept just because I was on the play. Like, how likely is it that Rogue's going to kill your Crab Rider on turn 2? He did right now, but that type of thing doesn't happen very often. It's either exactly backstab Eviscerate or 1-drop on turn 1 and backstab with Dagger. So, alas, does not work out.
Yeah, there's also, I guess, some Nitro Boost Poison type clears, but I agree with you in that it's not something you would expect all too often. In any case, Turna, by virtue of just having the 1-2-3 curve, is in a comfortable spot here. Trahison cannot just put down Questing Adventure all too safely. I kind of like where his head is at by killing off the Aldar Attendant here first, and then the Salhat's Pride, maybe denying Turna just good minions to play here. In the end, though, he kills off the Salhat's Pride, maybe a bit afraid of taking recurring 3 damage.
Yeah.
I like the fancy play.
Yeah, I mean, it also like dilutes the draw, right? More likely to draw one of those 1-drops. Maybe it's worse. It's marginal, but it can sometimes be a difference maker. All right,
Well-
so another one.
Well, difference is he already has the dagger up, so this is a pretty good opportunity to go for questing cat, step cat, something like that.
So many options.
If he starts with coin, I would think that he's looking at a passage turn instead. Although I'm not sure what you hope to get off passage with 4 mana remaining that's better than 4/4 questing guaranteed. It's been a while since I've seen Generous Mummy.
Yeah. I mean, Libra Paladin's already making their cards cheap. Does it really matter if you make them cost one more less?
Yeah, how about some 0 mana Penflingers? That seems broken.
It's not a big deal.
Literally just infinite damage. Not a big deal.
Let me think.
Sorry, I miscounted the questing. It's 5/5, and that small distinction is maybe more important than I first gave it credit for. There's an ability to clear with Penflingers and Hand of Adal, for example. It feels a bit painful, though.
Yeah. Could go for Argent Braggart, Hand of Adal, Animated Broomstick.
Oh, I like that. Yeah. End up with a 7/2.
Yeah. And does get to trade off on the Pharaoh Cat as well.
Prior to having seen the Libram of Wisdom drawn, I would have said the only drawback of this play is giving up your spell, which you need for the Penflingers to really get much work done. But now that Turna has drawn Libram of Wisdom, he has the Truth Seeker to make it cost 0, and he can start getting tons of value off of these flings.
Spin like the suns, strike like the winds.
Gonna have to be some good stuff off of the One Thief and the World Kick. Miscreant is a great outcome. Oh, he's leaving the 7/2 up to get maximum value. I can understand it as Rogue. You don't necessarily expect to die all that quickly from Paladin, but Turna can start putting on the aggression with these Penflingers if he likes.
Yeah, still not a lot of mana available, but Rogue's not healing. They're not going to be healing anytime soon, so maybe something... he could just go for like Aldor Trueseeker, 1 Penflinger, Libra of Wisdom, and push 9, and have a taunt in the way that's going to be able to get these. But leaving World Kick Master up is
Right.
super concerned.
It's a bit sketchy. I mean, I was honestly looking at Crab Rider plus Penflingers and Libram of Wisdom, even though you don't get the full discount just yet. I like the idea of being able to develop the Crab Rider and still fit in the Penflingers. You delay the Truth Seeker, which often feels like it has cascading repercussions, but the World Kick, I feel, is so threatening. And now here's a Prize Plunderer.
Yikes.
Yeah, yikes. Coerce as well.
And then, what, a Goblin Lackey here? And then just needs one more. Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Give me that. Look what I...
Trahisan is solidly in control of the board now. Turna, yes, he has the Penflingers, but he needs to spend 12 mana on them to actually deal lethal to Trahisan in the near future. I'm gonna say this was a solid punish.
Yeah. Oh, all right, upstairs it is.
Okay.
He's got incremental damage from Libram of Justice. This also helps clear a little bit.
Yeah. So he can also fit in the Crab Rider this turn. So 1 fling on the Miscreant, Crab Rider, Libram. Crab Rider deals with, I suppose, the Whirl Kick and the 2/1. He can swing face. I don't know if the math works out quite that well, but he definitely has time, right? Quite a lot of health for Turna, so sending at least some damage to the face is in keeping with the line he started with last turn.
Reporting for duty.
Okay,
Oh, wow.
hold on to the Crab Rider altogether. He can still get rid of the Whirl Kick with his weapon, but I'm not entirely sure what the reasoning for Recruit over Crab Rider is. Just seemed more efficient.
Yeah. Maybe for second Libram? I don't know. At this point, you're running a little bit low on resources. Your opponent has a ton of resources. I feel like you just want to throw as much damage to face as possible and try and get that damage in while you can, while still clearing off the Whirl Kick Master, which is obviously a threat.
So for Trahisan here, my first thought went to Wing Guardian, but I like that he's found room to instead get more immediate damage here. SI7 Agent, the Prize Plunger. He puts nearly as much attack on board as with the Wing Guardian given his new minions, and plus the Nitro boost, I think it accelerates the clock quite a bit more. He knows also that the majority of Turna's damage doesn't regard taunt anyway. It's Penflingers. They can go straight to the dome if they want.
Yeah. Also gives him more options if he does need to trade minions down, and it also makes it more enticing for Turn to use these Penfingers on minions. But this could be a decent turn here for Turna. It's got the Penflingers to pick apart these one health minions that are on the board, as well as Crab Rider plus Blessing of Wisdom.
I do think it has to be Crab Rider. Oh, before the flick? I don't know. I was interested in flinging first and just getting maximum value out of these Penflingers. Could have been a full board clear.
Yeah, especially if he's using his Crab Riders on the 2-1s. It means he's looking for something specific.
Could be that. Devout Pupil
Well, I mean,
is insane here.
It's going to cost 1. Honestly, it could have cost 0 if he.
Quickly.
I guess not, unless he wanted to trade it into like. Oh wait, he can. He's going to trade it in. It is going to cost 0.
Okay, if he ends up doing that anyway, then it makes sense. It's really difficult to parse a turn considering all the different things he could have drawn off the top. I am just worried about whether the turn was finished for Turna. Seems like it's fine. Okay. Flinger safe in hand. Taunt in the way. Trahisan with a generous mummy unplayable in hand.
Passage it is.
I wonder if you're ever supposed to encounter slow first. Probably not, right?
Ooh. Flick.
Is very clutch. It feels
Yes,
somewhat
it is.
expensive to give up the Foxy Fraud and the Evil Miscreant, but the flick is just too good here to give up.
Yeah, and Treasion's also staring at a Cold Blood on the other side in his hand, so does have some percentage as well as the Nitro Boost potion. So any of these, either of these minions stick, and Trahisan's looking at lethal damage. I mean, Turn's got to know this. I mean, 9 health.
So, his first instinct was Liadrin, but these minions are looking pretty threatening. There's a clear that doesn't need to use Libram of Justice. You can go like Fling Fling on the flick, Attendant, Blessing the Attendant, Fling one Thief, Rush the Attendant, and then you get a Blessing back, so then you can fit more flings to the face and still end with both flingers in hand.
Wait to read these.
Maybe I'm just overcomplicating things, and this is just a perfectly fine Libram of Wisdom anyway. It's 1 mana. That sounds good to me. Can fit in flings to face before that too.
I was just thinking Liadrin Broomstick.
Shipwreck will not fall in vain.
Okay, sure. All of it's
then-
a clear board.
Yeah. And this gets all the levers from hand, so much mana next turn as well. And Trahisan needs burn damage right now.
That can be a spell lackey, but what spell can he get at this point? Oh man, I'm not seeing it. But maybe the miscreant sees it.
Oh, up to no good? Me too.
Nope.
Nope.
Well, can Goblin Lackey dagger up Nitro Boost potion or Nitro Boost poison? But knows the Penflingers are in hand, knows the Libram of Wisdoms are in hand as well. The 3 Libram of Wisdoms, Turna held on to effectively 7 damage from hand, so if anything stuck, he was dead. A single minion, so he wasn't able to clear off both. But nicely played there. Kind of some tough to navigate turns there towards the middle, like crab riding before he starts Penflingering, which like gave him a better game plan for that turn. Pretty much like every turn I was like, I would have done that slightly differently, but
Right.
he ended up winning, and so you never know. Was I just wrong the whole time?
I mean, it's really tough with the ordering of when you have spells that draw you cards, but those spells are the only activators for your Penflingers. You have to make an active decision at the very beginning of the turn of, am I going to allot my extra mana purely to Penflingers, which are guaranteed clears, but not necessarily as efficient as, say, if I top deck the Devout Pupil as Turna did. And he did all of that risk assessment and concluded that he didn't necessarily want maximum value off of the Penflingers as long as he got something decent playable off the draw, and he did. Worked out pretty nicely. I still have some questions about leaving up the Whirl Kick on that one turn where he could have cleared with Crab Rider, but the end game, I think, was very beautifully navigated.
Yeah, so series is tied 1-1. Treason still has the World Kick Rogue left, whereas Turna, we're looking at Token Druid and Zoo Warlock. We're actually looking at Zoo Warlocks on both sides, so could end up seeing a mirror matchup for that, which can go one of two ways. It could be very close, hard-fought battle, or one player takes command and control of the board and wins, and it's not even close. There's nothing in between. At least that's what it seems like when you're watching Zoo Warlock mirrors.
It definitely has seemed like that historically. I guess I have a small addendum of now there are broomsticks on both sides, so there is a little bit more room for comeback potential, but largely it is still about who gets the early board, because even when broomsticks do come into play, if you just assume that both players have access to both broomsticks, it still goes back and forth, and whoever had the first set of threats will come out on top. But maybe the Zoo Mirror will happen later. For now, we are going to pay attention to Turna's Token Druid. I'm such a fan of druids in this meta, whether it's Highlander or a bunch of Gibberlings.
Yeah, I think it's this weird, psychological effect where we've been so used to Druid being like one of the most powerful decks for so long that right now it's not considered the best deck by anyone, so it's an underdog, even though it's very competitive. And there have been classes like Shaman and Hunter that were underdogs for years, right, that didn't have tier 1 tier 2 decks for years, and now Druid has a single set where they have only 2 tier 2 decks and they feel like the underdog. So I think that's why it's hard not to root to Druid, because we've been so used to them being at the top for so long.
I think I have been very thoroughly psychologically analyzed, TJ. I feel very seen. That's exactly why I like playing Druid, because I like doing the degenerate things that you can do with Druid with Lightning Bloom. I just feel a little bit less dirty doing it now because other decks are doing even more degenerate things.
Yeah. I had 2 games in a row where this was Shaman, it wasn't Druid, but Lightning Bloom all the same, right? Double Lightning Bloom into double Eyesore Totemic Reflection.
Sweet.
That's a GG right there. You have a dead turn, but you get 2 3/7s on board. It doesn't matter.
there are certain hands that kind of just win the game on turn 1, even if you don't have a turn 2.
Yep. All right. Well, let's get into it. Trees is going to queue up the Rogue once again. And like we mentioned, the token Druid, that is a Lightning Bloom in the opening hand, but not really much to pair alongside it. The dream is to go to get like Fungal Fortunes and Glowfly Swarm in the opening hand with Lightning Bloom.
True.
Because then you can do them one turn after the other and get a board full of them. And because he doesn't have support for the Lightning Bloom, he's just going to go ahead and throw it away and look for something different.
Yeah, I completely agree with the mulligan. I think that Lightning Bloom, while it makes the most broken things possible early on for Druid, even if Druid hits like a decent regular start, they can still be in with a good shot. So I think that Turna should be prioritizing looking for things like Fungal Fortunes or Glowfly Swarm, and even if you don't have Lightning Bloom to immediately get those out, the rest of your deck on average should be able to hold out till you get to a board fill.
Care to make a wager, friend?
Oh,
What an amazing start for Trahis.
what a draw.
Yeah. Oh, and Defias Ringleader is pretty dang good in this situation, I have to say.
Yeah. Oof.
All right. Coin Bait, Glowfly. Let's go.
So it'd be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Wait, no.
Full bang for your
6.
buck.
6.
What to do?
Is it?
Oh no, it's 7. No, it's 6. I was trying. Yeah, I was
sorry.
second guessing
Yeah,
myself.
yeah, it is.
For some reason I can't count.
I'm so sorry.
And
Yeah, there's 9
your blank
total in
expression,
hand
I was
right
like, help me count. I can't count to 6.
now. Neither can I, apparently.
It's good enough.
Yeah. Whether it's 6 or 7, I would still go for this play. They challenged the board very nicely on the other side. But
Looking
this
for
wouldn't
what?
be-
Backstab? Plunderer? Nope.
So much value, but he needs removal.
They hit the plunder? Yep.
Oh yeah.
Look what I want!
Now he can step the Plunderer too. He can evolve his Miscreant after it bumps into one of the Glowflies. Whirl Kick can also just deal with the other half of whatever he bumps. I think it's fine to give up the Whirl Kick at this point.
I forget things.
Wow.
All right, not
that
bad.
Was a rogue turn.
Yeah. And he used a lot of resources, but also gained back a lot of resources with the World Kick Master. But a lot of them aren't super useful in this matchup in particular. Cold Blood going to be very difficult to use, at least to great effect. And when he's going to be behind or even on board, which it looks like he's going to be even on board after this turn, as Turner tries to figure this out, it's going to be even tough to spend the mana on Eviscerate. It's usually going to be used to kill a 2/2.
But a lot of the time, even can be enough in this matchup. Trahisan has SI7 Agent as a convenient clear on one more minion. The problem really is when Turna is able to get another wide board fill, which is namely second Glowfly or even say Soul of the Forest on the current board, which as it stands...
Or Arbor Up. It's a nice check for everything. So Treason looking in good shape. Going to use this Defias Ringleader, not try and go too heavy on just straight up removal, but instead clear off some things, develop some things.
It's a really good compromise. I mean, the SI7 agent was kind of awkward with the mana remaining, so Dagger clears off one minion, as does SI. So I like that Trahisan fits in the Defias as well. And this Gibberling for Turna could be pretty fun. Fungal Fortunes has to put in some good work, though. One Power of the Wild could change everything. Oh, doesn't hit it.
It's going to go for second Fungal Fortunes.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
I mean, he's out of Lightning Bloom, so in terms of immediate board buffs, there are none. But he can at least deal with the two more 2/1s. Okay, Innervate Adorable Infestation also is decent to take one value trade, but I think he wastes one board space at that point.
If he goes for double trade. Yeah, needs to trade once more.
Oh, right. Yeah. This is the ideal way of going about it.
Yeah. But Flick's going to come down here.
Yep. And all the gibbers are no more. Turna back to square one, has only 4 mana to work with next turn, but at least he has quite a bit of health to his name.
Yeah, but at this point, it just feels like an uphill battle. You lose the board like this, wouldn't even have the mana to be able to play Glowfly Swarm next turn, even if he drew it off the top, which would pretty much be his only way out of this situation, I think. It's going to have to settle with like Dreamway Guardians and, Rising Winds for a 3-2 and just hope that gets there, or maybe even just try and draw a card and see if you can pick up Glowfly Swarm for next turn.
Yeah. Okay, that's something. Solar Eclipse with Arbor up, nothing to scoff at for next turn.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind just Tear Power on the Defias here.
Yeah, but giving an entire turn of development over to the Rogue doesn't feel great. And look at Treesen's hand. He could probably set up a 2-turn lethal.
Yeah, double Nitro Boost.
Weapon. Yeah, double Nitro Boost and a Cold Blood.
Oh wow, Turna is just drawing even more. I'm honestly not sure for what, because he's used both blooms, and that is the card that allows him to double up on the board development immediately. As it stands, he has all of his mana spoken for this turn and next.
Spin like the suns, strike like the winds.
Here we go. Nitro. Yes, he only has 1 weapon charge, but I think it's fine. Cash in damage right now.
Yeah. Is he setting up for a 2-turn? He would be pushing 12, 13, 14 plus 5, 19. So he'd need to net 10 damage next turn. If he goes with SI7 agent, he's banking a little bit more on the board, but doing less immediate damage.
I think that's still reasonable. Druid has
Yeah.
very little in the way of board clears, just the other Lunar Eclipse at this point, I believe. Oh,
Yeah.
he even hits with the dagger, so that means he's accounting for re-daggering or even playing the Perdition's Blade for the Nitro boosts.
Yeah. So just from hand, Perdition's Blade, Nitro Boost. That's 7 plus Eviscerate. That's 11. Has 11 damage from hand. And
5 to stick.
yeah, actually just needs 1 to stick. A minion, right? Because then Nitro Boost Potion becomes it. So even if just
true,
the World Kickmaster sticks onto the board, that's lethal from hand. Even if every minion is killed. So 2-1 Treason.
Very clean. I somehow blanked on this other Lightning Bloom being there for Turna. I could have sworn he'd use both, but maybe it was a turn of Coin Innervate that my brain just registered as Lightning Bloom. My mistake. And that would explain why Turna was drawing so aggressively, because being able to go for, say, Arbor Up plus Soul of the Forest on one turn is a big difference compared to, say, just Dreamway Guardians and Arbor Up.
Yeah. But ultimately didn't work out. Some pretty powerful turns from Treason early on that just allowed him to take control of the board, right? He wasn't pushing any damage. Turn was still at 29 health, but that 29 health disappeared in 2 turns because of just how many resources he was able to amass with the World Kickmaster. So back to the drawing board for Turner, but Treason just has the Zoo Warlock left. Has to beat the Token Druid or win a Zoo Warlock mirror.
Right, and it would be a card-for-card mirror. I'm looking at their deck list side by side, and they have everything the same here. 1 expired merchant, the Canrathad on either side, called Neophytes 2 of on either side, and of course the Minari Mosher package. So that is a straight-up 50-50, and that leaves the question mostly to how does Zoo perform versus Druid. And as a person who plays Druid more often, I tend to like Druid's chances, but it is still quite dependent on, once again, Lightning Bloom and how early it can come down alongside Glowfly Swarm.
Yeah, usually one like powerful Innervate or Lightning Bloom turn is enough to get ahead of Zoo Warlock. Because even though Zoo is a very powerful deck when they get on the board, at least for the first 4 turns or whatever, they have to operate with a reasonably fair mana curve, right? Especially now with Dark Lair being just a 1 mana refresh, they can have those huge turns, but Druid can have those huge turns much more often, at least ones that like outright win them the game. So we'll have to see. I do feel like I'm usually reasonably comfortable as a playing Zoo against Token Druid, just because it's more likely that you get a fast start than they get a fast start, but it can be quite scary because especially you're taking so much damage by life tapping with Flame Imps that you leave like 2 minions on the board. That could sometimes be enough for you to just die, so it can get scary.
The way I would compare them is that Zoo has a more consistent damage output and also just stats output that they develop across turns 1 to 3. You can very much expect Zoo to hit 1-drop into double 1-drop or something like that. Their high roll being early Dark Glare. For Druid, a lot of the time you can expect them to not play any stats, but come turn 3, suddenly they can just put, I don't know, sometimes 7 2/2s on the board. And they also have their own high roll potential of turn 1 huge Gibberling board. So when you factor in that Druid has more ways to get a wide board early, I feel like that trumps the consistency from Warlock, if that makes sense. But there are, of course, certain draws where the Druid does absolutely nothing early on and they can just get snowballed by not even necessarily Dark Lair. Cult Neophyte can be a huge factor in that matchup.
Yeah, the double Cult Neophyte can protect the early board, get rid of those big planned swing turns from the Druid. But it looks like we are going to see a mirror match for potentially the last game of this series. Both players going to be on the Zoo Warlock, and as you mentioned, the 30 card for 30 card, same list. Once upon a time, the play was being on the play was the better for Zoo Warlock, but I feel like especially with things like Animated Broomstick, with being able to play 2 1-drops and go for the Wriggling Horror the next turn, there's powerful turns that you can do, even swing turns with oh my gosh, I can't think of the name, Dark Glare.
Right.
Having the coin can sometimes make those swing turns more powerful, ramp yourself up to get a Flesh Giant down a little bit earlier because you're able to string together more minions with Dark Lair. There can be some potential for the player on the coin to have just as much of an impact.
Right. Compared to the Zoo Mirrors of old, there are a lot more cards that either interact with your board to immediately let you trade, such as Animated Broomstick, and there's also now things like Tour Guide and Dark Glare, which kind of mess with your mana totals per turn and allow you to kind of bank mana in one way or another to get even more value out of a single turn, which can offset sometimes your opponent playing their best curve, for example. So I think there's a lot more room to swing in a Zoo Mirror. At its core, though, it's still about taking efficient trades, using Wriggling Horror to get all of the VTs, and just making sure that you get more bang out of every single minion.
Oh, all right. So mediocre hands on both sides, but both players have Camethat Ebb and Lock, which can have a lot of potential. A turn 1 pass for turn though, so Treason. Coin Dark Lair would make a good amount of sense if you had like a 1-drop to go along with it, but then if you had a 1-drop to go along with it, it would likely be a demon, in which case you would coin Camethat. But Darkler has the highest potential upside in this situation, looks like.
Yeah. This also just kind of means that he has tap into Demon as a play for next turn because the Dark Lair is almost certainly sticking given that Turna did not play a minion on turn 1.
Ooh!
Hoo-hoo! So
All
now
right,
it can
so-
be Tour Guide, tap, and then if he gets a 1-drop, it goes along with the Counterthad. Not a demon and not a 1-drop.
Could Expired Merchant the Flesh Giant, but with only raised Dead in hand as a way to get that cheaper?
Bit iffy.
Yeah. Could just go with Counterthad this turn. It's higher attack. And then see if you can get a payoff next turn with the Hand of Gul'dan.
Right. I think it's perfectly fine. Darkler feels sad to let it go like that, but he has Raised Dead, which will guaranteed get the Darkler back, at least if it were played right next turn. And he can go again.
Some awkward hands for both players. They both have a Raised Dead, a Flesh Giant, and an Expired Merchant, and a Counterthad Ebb and Lock. It's just how they fill the gap in between. Oh, okay. We got a Wriggling Horror.
That's pretty good here. Even if he floats a mana, it allows him to trade up and, you know, buff his Counterthad, and he can keep chugging along.
So many possibilities.
Alternatively, there's even like a very aggressive play of Wicked Whispers to take a VT. I don't quite like it though. I think that the Darkler is more valuable than that.
Oh, this is so good. Gets Darkler and Tour Guide back exactly. I think there was a better way to do that play though. If you trade in the Tour Guide first. No, because then it would leave the minion at 1 health. I was thinking you could trade in the Tour Guide first, then Raise Dead, then Darkler for 1 mana, then play the Tour Guide again and tap.
So many possibilities.
That's just a bit awkward with the trades, but I like where your head's
Yeah.
at. It's maximizing the mana for sure.
Yeah. Oh, yikes. Oh,
This
yikes.
is not great for Turna.
Oh, no, because now even if Turna picks up Skull, or not Skull, I'm sorry, Hand of Gul'dan.
Can't discard it.
Can't discard it anymore, even with getting that Flesh Giant cheaper. So this is pretty brutal. This is, one of the worst starts that you could ask for. And, playing another Counter with that Ebb and Lock without any demons again. No, neither player has drawn a 1-drop demon, which is insane to me. There's just a ton of them.
It's bizarre,
none.
but Trahizan has a 2-drop demon, which happens to be one of the best cards in the deck.
Yeah. Oh,
Here
okay.
we go. Flash Giant can come down.
But do you get greedy? Because he can Expired Merchant, Tour Guide, and then Wicked Whispers.
I want the 8/8, but again, I like.
But then you
where
can
your
have next
head's
turn. You
at.
can have 2 8/8s.
I mean, Turna's probably just dead after that anyway. I don't know. Okay, this.
I mean, this
Wicked
is a
Whisper
similar
is
amount of
good.
power, and you get more immediate damage. So you're still gaining 7/7 worth of stats here, but you're netting what, 2 more damage this turn? I guess it just ends up being 1 more damage this turn, but you do get to value trade. So it's actually preserving more power than the Flesh Giant would have preserved.
Okay, you've sold me.
It's a
I
two-turn
think it
lethal
says
either
it
way.
Very two-turn lethal, but while we are nitpicking all these little details, Trahizan is absolutely celebrating with his Hearthstone pillow. It's honestly been quite a while since I've seen a player be this openly invested in their performance on camera, and it's really refreshing. I like to root for people like that, for sure.
Yeah. And 4-0 start for Trahizan so far. Turned out still 3-1, so still, some chance it finishes out the day 4-1 that it's got some top 16 hopes. But Trahizan's looking in great shape, and honestly, play was on point. Not much that I could really disagree with, even in the game that he lost. Felt like he played that quite well. So clean play, good decks, at least for the field, right? If you look at win rates across all the decks they decided to bring, specifically Birdmage and Zoo Warlock, which I think are overperforming based on people's expectations, Treason's got to be a favorite.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is us already saying that we thought the lineup was meant to deal with Priest, which Turna did not even have. Still, not a problem for Trahison in the long run. And if there is quite a lot of Priest in the field, so I believe Trahison can only go up from here. I don't want to jinx him that bad, but I do have high expectations. Lorinda chiming in also with some other familiar names at 4-0. We do have Flurry and Staz, both ex-APAC GMs, looking to make a repeat performance and maybe re-qualify into Grandmasters. That would be a cool story indeed.
Yeah, I've learned over many years of Hearthstone casting to never count Staz out, because no matter what happens, he always just finds a way to make it back. He was supposed to originally, I think this was Staz, right? He was supposed to originally be at the 2015 regional finals, or I don't even remember what it was called. The road to BlizzCon, effectively, the tournament before BlizzCon, but couldn't go to the event because of visa issues. And
Very relatable.
Yep. And he could have been the world champion, but ended up coming back later on, making a good amount of prize money, Hearthstone qualifying for Grandmasters, and doing quite well. So it was a nice little comeback story for him, and maybe we'll see the double comeback story where he makes it back into Grandmasters after getting booted out. But that's going to do it for the initial match for round number 4 here, but we still have some round number 4 coverage before we get into our last round of the day. So we're going to go to a quick break, but when we'll be back, we'll have more Hearthstone here at Masters Tour Ironforge. Hello everybody, welcome back to Masters Tour Ironforge. We're continuing here with some round 4 coverage of the Swiss. My name is TJ, now joined by Dear Rock the Brown. How are you today, sir?
Wonderful, glad to be back on the virtual desk with you, TJ. It's feel like it's been a long while, and we have quite a, well, not a handful, but more of a mouthful with this next game, as we have Maverick up against Kuzguksmug. Is I think the best that I've got so far in terms of trying to pronounce this player's name.
Yeah, I think you got it. KZGXMG is how it is, and you know, we'll see. But yeah, it's been a while since we've cast together. I was just looking at ourselves on the camera and how accurate our head sizes are proportionally. This is how it looks in real life too.
This is 1-to-1.
It's a 1-to-1 ratio. My head in real life is about half the size of Derek's. That's a fact.
That is true, and even with me being closer to the camera, even if we were actually the same distance apart, my forehead would still encompass, I think, your entire face, is the truly startling part of that.
Yeah, sometimes it frightens me, but let's get into it. Maverick going to be queuing up the Highlander Priest first and foremost. Looks like pretty standard stuff across the board. You know, I've been seeing Ogre Mancer reach its way into these decks. Pretty standard as far as the Highlander Priests of today.
Yeah, I am a big fan of this build of Highlander Priest. I was asking a lot of players before the tournament, why is Highlander Priest so popular at the moment? Because there's, you know, for quite a while now, been two sides of the argument, whether you go for the 2-of version of Priest or Highlander Priest. And generally, I think it's when the dust has settled, been decided that regular 2-of Priest has been better. But for whatever reason, I think we might have reached critical mass on good Priest cards at this point, where you can just get away with running Highlander. There's so many strong tempo options that just slotting in a Zephyrus and a Dragon Queen Alexstrasza as well is more than worth it. So I think Maverick, a strong player and with a tried and true archetype there to get things rolling up against another tried and true archetype in the World Kick Rogue.
Yeah. And KZG is the name of the team. XMG is teammates with Xiao Bai, another player who's playing in this event. I think they both have the same exact lineup, 120 cards for 120 cards, just at a quick glance.
Right.
With both players bringing Highlander Mage, the World Kick Rogue, Libram Paladin, and Zoo Warlock. Kind of an interesting array of decks, right? Decks that you wouldn't think would go super well with each other. We're seeing Libram Paladin and Zoo Warlock in decks very often, or in lineups together very often, but Highlander Mage being thrown in there as opposed to like Burn Mage or Mazaki Mage. Kind of interesting. What are your thoughts on Highlander Mage at the moment?
I mean, and
it's banned, so who cares?
It's interesting. Yeah, like I do think overall it's a very interesting inclusion. I wouldn't put it in the lineup that KZG 10 milligrams has gone for. Personally, I think you want to go for more of a full target priest lineup, because one of the things I hear is that Highlander Mage does very well overall against the Highlander Priest, at which point I think you kind of want to lean into that a little bit more, go with the Control Warlock that players have been going for, as well as maybe the Bomb Warrior, which can fare very, very nicely against the Priests as well. But clearly it's working well for old XMG thus far, so I have high hopes nonetheless.
Derek. All right. Well, got a good old Mermy here, but dagger up on turn 2 for XMG. Has Evil Miscreant, but not really too much gas for the start of the game here. It's got a target for backstab now. Ooh.
Yeah, this is shaping together pretty nicely. I like the tempo Foxy Fraud, even though you of course already have the activator on the Miscreant with backstab. It's just a lot of tempo early on, and many of the lackeys here will give him further options to get more threats, as the Draconic lackey very nicely will. You're looking at quite a few 4 and 5 cost dragons that would be very welcome here.
Yeah, looking at the win rates overall, at the moment for both Rogue and Priest, which World Kick Rogue and Highlander Priest are the two most popular variants of their respective classes.
By far.
They tell very different stories, with Rogue having 55% win rate and Priest having 46% win rate. It's almost a 10-point difference with the two decks. So, and they're both the most played. So that should tell you a pretty good, or paint you a pretty good picture of what it's like to be players playing these two decks today, and who's a favorite in this particular game.
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to be a little bit hesitant of saying that means that Rogue was necessarily the better bring. Like, I think they're both very strong brings at this point, but Priest is a lot easier to target if you're bringing a lineup, whereas I think Rogue overall is a little bit more difficult to get a strong target on, and therefore you're going to have a lot of players who are banning Priest, and if they're not banning Priest, they have a good matchup against it anyway. But the point still stands, absolutely, that Priest is far from infallible, and maybe it's very arguably brought too much to be the #1 overall archetype.
Must consider.
And also another point is, all the Priest archetypes seemingly do similar things, whereas the 3 Rogue archetypes that are being brought do quite a bit different things, with the Aggro Rogue, Secret Rogue, and World Kick Rogue.
That is very true indeed. Maverick getting 2 of the absolute most premium minions. Oh, well, sorry, I was going to say with the Veil Weaver and Kaj, but clearly I forgot that, of course, you get the Volpira as well, which is a little bit more awkward. Just a good old a Bloodfen Raptor, a reference that will only be valid for about 2 more weeks.
I really want Maverick to coin and 360 no-scope this palm reading. Didn't get it. So essentially wasting the Nazmani there, but proc, because he would have been able to play the Foxy Fraud having coined anyway, but just needs the board presence right now. Maverick just doesn't have much going for him. Does have Hysteria, but Hysteria can be kind of weird if the board is just a bunch of small stuff, because it's just going to be one small thing smacking another small thing, and then, cool, you just spent 3 mana for a worse betrayal. But palm reading could find something.
I love the lines that XMG is going for as well at this point, to just keep up the value at all points. He realizes that against Priest, pressure is important, but making sure you have that ability to turn after turn after turn, keep the pressure rolling, which I think he's doing very, very nicely thus far. I think, want to see Draconic Lackey come down, just because you can get the, what is it called, the Rider, the 6 mana 5/6 dragon that's like Big Cairn in a way. But holding off on it here and prioritizing the dagger instead, it's reasonable.
Yeah. Just incremental chip damage, I guess, is what XMG's going for. Which, with his hand, that makes a lot of sense. He's keeping his board pretty resilient, like I said, to Hysteria. But at the same time, he's not really putting on that much pressure. Maverick's still at 20. It still has some, removal tools available if things get a little bit out of control. Wow.
Interesting. Yeah, I guess Mage Scribe is probably the way to go. I was definitely tempted by the Twin Tyrant, because this is, still a very tempo-heavy matchup, and that is an absolute terror in terms of tempo. The Twin Tyrant.
Wow.
That's not bad either, though.
Well, I mean, that I-Beam's never going to be outcast. But other than that, yeah. I guess he could, not quite next turn, but turn after, because he could dump the left side of his hand, but still not a super powerful turn, all things considered, for XMG.
You just have to play the I-Beam as like a budget bash, I suppose, from the good old days of Warrior.
That was not a bad card either.
It was a pretty good card.
Yeah.
Not as good as I-Beam, but still pretty good.
Yeah. Though armor having a little bit higher value than health.
Not incorrect, TJ.
Let's be real here, Derek. Let's not kid ourselves.
Okay, Holy Ripple is very nice against this board. Joking aside, TJ.
Yes, it is.
So nice that you wouldn't take the insight. Like, you can kind of just plod along with this hand if you want to with the Holy Ripple and take some, you know, respectable clears on the board. Or you could say none of this is good enough and I need to draw Zephrys or Dragon Queen or whatever off of this insight. And I honestly, I would have heard out the argument there that maybe the Holy Ripple is just not ambitious enough. But it's pretty clean.
Yeah. Though, I mean, you could be right. Like... or at least, you know, I don't know if you're playing like devil's advocate or if that was your actual opinion, if you're just saying, you know, it could be like this. But whatever it was right in the sense that Maverick is just kind of, you know, dealing with the board every turn, not generating resources like Priest often needs to do in order to get an edge. Because now XMG is still the same in resources, but has had the board and has had ability to push damage turn after turn.
Say what you will about the devil, TJ, but he definitely needs me to advocate for him. That's all I'm saying, and I am willing to step up to the plate. In the form of saying that Holy Ripple is maybe not ambitious enough.
Care to make a wager, friend?
Okay, this Ogremancer is quite good.
Ooh. That's pretty good as well, though. I want AI and Mask of Cthulhu. This is a huge amount of damage that is now open to XMG with Inner Demon and the Mask.
So 2 cards played thus far. Can't quite get to the point where the Prize Plunderer is killing the Ogre. Unless Arcane Intellect pulls some cheap stuff, but I don't know if he can afford to try and risk that, because then you're giving over a 2/2, your board's going to get picked apart more easily. He could just I-beam Plunder, yeah.
Do I agree with this? Mask of Cthulhu is just 10 damage if your opponent doesn't play any minions, or if you can clear them out of the way. Yeah, if you hit some good cards, I suppose the chain does keep rolling with World Kicks, but I find that pick dubious, to say the least.
Dubious.
You think this is your time?
Indeed, TJ. Oh.
Look what I won!
Yeah, offers a very, very nice mirrors on there. You don't even think about that as Maverick. And now on the other side, Shadow Step is very nice because it starts the chain rolling. Any kind of ability to play a combo card there was crucial for XMG.
Can even pick up like a Brain Freeze here, which kind of double dips. Oh!
Ray of Frost. Oh, yes.
I was thinking Evocation.
Oh, really? No. This is insane. The Ray of Frost is exactly what you're after, right?
Yeah, I guess.
He's got infinite ways to spend his mana anyway.
Oh!
Okay.
Double
Stuff's happening.
Aerial Lackey.
Choose soon.
Nitro boost? Wow! I mean, I don't know about you, but I really wish I had a Mask of Cthulhu in hand as well at this point.
Well,
I guess this wouldn't have happened necessarily, but
yeah.
yeah.
I mean, he's got Hook Scimitar, Nitro Boost Potion, and Inner Demon.
That's not legal.
We're like a couple generous mummies away from an OTK. XMG, though, really needs to dodge Apotheosis for quite some time now as he tries to set up all of this damage.
I mean, it only needs 2 turns, really, especially if Maverick is unable to clear off this Miscreant on this turn, which he quite wisely is opting to do so here with a fairly lackluster but still very important Broomstick.
All right, now it's a race. He's not getting... Oh my gosh.
Wow. I mean, this Wasteland Assassin alone is really nice to go with these Nitro boosts as well.
Yeah, so you load it up. Wasteland Assassin, Hook Scimitar, double Nitro boost poison, and hit him, smack him for 8.
A place to hide.
Yeah. I kind of
guess
one Ray of Frost.
Yeah.
This is a play that the Devil would definitely not have advocated for, but I still quite like it nonetheless.
Also, next turn, just a cool 16 damage from hand.
Very big draw on the other side for Maverick. He's able to now destroy this Wasteland Assassin, heal up his own health total a little bit, obviously in combo with the Wild Pyromancer to clear off the Reborn as well. And Radiance as well, he maybe has enough health here in order to withstand all this insane amount of damage and pressure that's coming through.
Does he use Radiance, though? Does he feel like he's under that much threat?
Oh, surely you would.
Okay.
You just, at this point, you smell a rat. Something is not right. If they're just ignoring the board and going all face, all you care about is your health total. That's so close.
That's 18.
So you can go for Magic Trick to... Oh, no, wait, obviously you can't get Frost Nova, it's rogue cards. I mean, you could, I guess, try and, like, sap or assassinate or something on the Mirazond.
Assassinate.
I mean, you're just dying otherwise, right? Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, we're pretty much looking for any damage as well at this point to go off this Magic Trick. Betrayal is not bad. You can just load up on all your other cheaper damage this turn and then Inner Demon Eviscerate next turn.
Choose soon.
Yeah.
Oh, this is going to be razor thin, the margins here.
Oh, I like the Nitro Boost potion because this forces a trade. Also just banks the damage. Inner Demon plus Eviscerate next turn is not quite enough.
Not quite. He is going to need a little bit extra. I think it was, you know, ambitious and probably the best way to go about it, but it's becoming more and more clear that this probably just doesn't get there, especially as Magic Trick has a very decent chance of finding some extra healing for Maverick.
Maybe the Nitro Boost potion actually need to be saved for a Dagger Up. For incremental damage, but again, I still, like you said, I don't think it gets there, because then he'd need 2 full turns, and there's essentially no development. Uh-oh! Just kidding. Oof. This is just an assassinate.
Yeah. Force an enemy minion. Okay, that can't go wrong.
Betrayal is all enemy minion as well, so... I think Maverick would have thought that through quite extensively. Playing it before even attacking with his Cobalt Spellkin, if it wasn't just target enemy minions.
Yeah, that is just game. I don't think there's anything he can do here to stop it with Prize Plunderer not able to take enough damage off the board. Maverick is going to be taking the win with the Priest, despite the 9-point differential between the two archetype win rates. Still nothing can stand in Maverick's way, despite XMG's, I think for the most part, pretty good recognition of where he was at in the game. The only real thing that you could potentially take umbrage there, of course, with is, in my opinion, still the choice between Arcane Intellect and Mask of Cthulhu, which it's very unclear which was the correct choice even now, I think, given all that extra damage that was generated from the Whirl Kick maybe wouldn't have been offered if he had gone for the Mask as well, so it's a close one.
Yeah, that was a very close game. I mean, the one turn where Maverick was able to clear off the Wasteland Assassin completely and heal barely out of range of the 18 damage from hand from the Rogue. Yeah, that one hurts. That one hurts. But nicely recognized by Maverick to understand that who cares about Thought Steal right now? Let's just get as high of a health total as I possibly can. Because I have the board, I just need to play around something ridiculous. And there was something ridiculous. So, nicely spotted by Maverick. He's been around Hearthstone long enough to know when his opponent looks like he's holding on to a Pyroblast.
Oh yeah, he is OG, proper old school Hearthstone talent. Maverick has been doing it for a long time throughout all iterations of Hearthstone's competitive esports systems, and doing pretty well throughout. You know, he's still yet to hit the truly astronomic heights that some competitive players have got, but just one of the players who consistently gets a lot of respect from the community, you know, despite not being French, being a Belgian player, still very much part of the somewhat insular French community, and very, very well respected amongst the French-speaking community, as I'm sure you can attest to, Monsieur Tige.
Oui.
Oui, oui.
Je suis le rat. La communauté de forcés.
C'est vrai.
C'est vrai.
Oui, oui. Anyway, alors.
Tu es le champion des rocs brown.
Oh, God. Well, the good news is at least you've turned the community around on asking for a French cast after that, TJ. As moving swiftly on to Maverick's OTK Demon Hunter, a deck that we have seen fall many a time already so far this weekend, fall flat on its face, but also, when it gets the goods, just deliver truly disgusting lethals. I still am firmly of the opinion that it was just a very good bring this weekend. As long as you're going with the ban priest strategy, which most players have gone for, it's a very, very powerful deck indeed, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's only sitting around a 47% win rate, but you know, that's accounting for the roughly 15% buffer that you need to give OTK Demon Hunter of people messing up lethals that they had, which actually count as wins. They just don't show up on paper, but they are wins. So if we account for that buffer, Demon Hunter's sitting around a 62% win rate, which is quite impressive, to say the least.
And if we filter out all the games that they lost, it's actually a 100% win rate I'm seeing here, TJ, which is very impressive indeed.
Yeah. I mean, if you're just looking at Demon Hunter's games against Shaman and Hunter, they haven't lost.
Damn! Not bad.
3 for 3. All right. Well, let's get into it. The World Kick Rogue once again for XMG and OTK Demon Hunter. You happen to be an OTK Demon Hunter expert.
Oh, famously,
aren't you, Derek?
Actually, yeah. Far and wide, players come asking for but a moment of my time. How do I count to 5, oh great one? Please teach me. And I say but nothing. Overall, I do like... Sorry. You okay there, TJ? I do like Maverick's decision.
Oh, great one.
God's sakes. Why do I even bother?
All right, I'm back.
Would you care to say something about Hearthstone, TJ?
Yeah, I feel like this is a terrible matchup for World Kick Rogue unless they have a big questing early on in the game.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
About sums it up.
It does indeed, especially when there's a very nice starting hand for Maverick. I really like that he saved the, my god, Illidari studies on turn 1, because you have the ability to get exactly Spectral Sight if you play it on turn 2, which I think is what he was playing towards. Moment of hesitation as Skull, the undeniable best card, was offered, but he knew it would end up trapped later on. So I very much like what I'm seeing thus far from Maverick, who has had a pretty good hand. You know, it doesn't look like he's going to have an easy Skull outcast anytime soon, but he can hopefully just rip it off the top as soon as he finds it.
Yeah. Does have to dump a card here. No Elganoth in hand. Can't afford to burn a card just in case. It's about what card you dump in this situation. Could go for double jump coin philosophy, I think is the most efficient use. That was if he hit philosophy, mind you. Could have hit the Skull of Gul'dan, which would have been not disastrous, but pretty bad, considering it would have been on a weird spot in the hand where he would have had to keep dumping the cards that he got off the top in order to keep the Skull outcasted. But is rewarded for his efforts.
Quite undeniably. For XMG here, even though these are undeniably 3 absolutely trash cards to find in the matchup, I really hope that we don't see this step at this point on any of these minions, because this is quite clearly, in my opinion, a step Jandis hand just to get maximum pressure over the next couple of turns, which, while it is obviously unlikely to get the job done because Demon Hunter is actually pretty well equipped at dealing with Jandis minions, it's still important just to get any kind of pressure rolling in this matchup.
What was that prep for there?
To prep out
corrupted.
a secret.
Did it corrupt the Nitro?
No, it didn't. It was already corrupted. I think it was really just to confuse Maverick into making him misstep, because coin had just been used, and so prep secret, you know, it's a bluff, I think, pretty exclusive.
Okay. Try and make Maverick have a weaker turn before the Jandis Shadow Step turn, I suppose.
Yeah, you'd think so. Yeah, I mean, I'm not necessarily convinced on the timing of it, because obviously what you would like to do is go for the prep secret bluff into turn 6 so that they don't feel comfortable in playing the Skull. And I think that is something that he could have laid out as quite a possible plan, because he could have just gone Jandis step on 5 and then 3 mana Jandis plus just full mana secret on turn 6 in order to try and deny the Skull. So even though it's a cute play to prep out the secret, I'm not necessarily sure I agree with the timing of it.
Yeah, especially considering he could have had a clear onto this Marg Artificer with prep eviscerate had the right been held onto in the hand. So just a little weird, but second philosophy picked up. But really Mavericks trying to look for either cards that he can dump or I guess Skull, but he doesn't want to draw Skull now. He wants to draw Skull next turn.
Yeah, exactly. And so, no matter what, all his plans revolve around clearing up some hand space, quite clearly. Of which there are, you know, quite a few fairly efficient ways to go about it. Just straight up, Immolation Aura is not terrible. It clears the board. Obviously, it damages your Moog quite drastically. Not available anymore, of course.
Yep.
I mean, honestly, I don't think he would have expected that at all, really, because it's not a card that you would ever want to pick in the matchup. It's verging on completely useless.
And prep it out.
Right, exactly. It's a very weird play.
It's a crazy bluff, right?
The suns strike like the winds.
Interesting. I mean, I'm not sure if I necessarily agree with the fact that this was a turn that warranted not playing Jandis. Like, yes, you kind of overextend in a way, but if he hadn't got exactly Cold Blood there, that could have been a very low tempo turn overall.
Holy moly.
That is a Skull.
It is a Skull. Currently 9 cards in hand, so Ken just dump one of these Moargs. But instead going to go with some healing here, because obviously XFG is looking for an aggressive push. And even though that Skull is not going to be outcast anymore, can start dumping cards from the middle. And also just 2 4/6s after the spells were used, like I'm seeing the Eviscerate, is nothing to scoff at.
That's exactly it. The Abyss gone, no backstabs in hand. These are just straight up 4/6s right now, which are really tough to chew through, which is, again, kind of one of the reasons that leans towards using the Abyss there very aggressively without developing much tempo. Maybe not being the best way to develop his mana.
Oh, I was like, oh my gosh, if he picks up second skull here, it's going to be insane. Because both philosophies had been played, and Artie and I-Beam in hand, so it was a 50-50, right? To hit I-Beam or second skull.
How many copies of Spectral Sight is he running as well? Because it could have been...
he's running 2.
The other Spectral.
1 natural,
Yeah. But either way, it would have been a very, very big deal to hit the skull there, as you said. I mean, I think if he does want to play the I-Beam here, there's a reasonable chance that he will be able to play whatever he gets off the top and play skull afterwards. But obviously, if that does not happen and he gets Il'gynoth or something off the top, then he's going to be pretty sad that he used up another combo piece fairly liberally.
Yeah.
Time grows short.
I think this was pretty wrong. He just damaged his minion more for effectively no reason, right?
Spin like the sun.
Like even if he didn't think that the Zai was the illusion minion, he could have just hero powered first and then traded into the Jandis, right?
Maybe he wants it to die. Because that would be literally the only reason to make that play. Because he floated mana at the end. You're right. He could just hero powered, got rid of the 3 health, and then kept more health of his Morag Artificer.
I'm going to go with that was just a bit wrong. I don't think he wanted his Mohawk to die. I think he's just...
They've also been playing for 9 hours at this point, right? So we're starting to get to the point of the day where fatigue is an issue. Oh, the Chaos Strikes were the cards at the top of the deck that makes it so you couldn't cast Skull.
I think we're just casting Skull, At this point, like, it really sucks because he has no reduced cards and he's already played the Raging Fell Screamer, so his ability to actually play the combo is getting a little bit sketch at this point, to be honest. But I think it's still doable, especially if he's able to play that second Skull, which he just drew in the outcast position.
Yep.
Yep, well, you put the maximum amount of damage on board, which is exactly what he's doing, quite rightly.
Okay.
That's playable. That's very playable.
Yep. And
all right, we're looking for
we're
looking for Il'gynoth here, pretty much exclusively reduced in cost, and he does not find it, which is again pretty brutal. We're getting to that point where Il'gynoth, Moarg, spell damage, like a lot of your mana is already eaten up before you even get to playing the lifesteal cards in order to try and go for lethal.
I grow impatient. I grow impatient.
I don't know. I don't even know what I'm looking for with studies here.
Right, yeah, I think I like going for studies first, just because if you get yourself a card that you want to play in the outcast position, like I-Beam, you want to make sure you do that before you get it locked in with the throwing boomerang thingy. The glaive.
Oh, didn't get the dump off!
He did not. That was not what was supposed to happen on this turn. Things starting to look a little bit shaky again. As we've been saying, the server lag for players not residing in the Americas is a pretty big deal, and you do need to be making sure that you are wrapping up your turns in a very timely fashion.
On wings of evil.
Well, this next turn could be very, very bad. Another evasive Draconid. There could be a situation where XMG just curates his board, kills off his own stuff, and just leaves 2 evasive Draconids on the board.
Yeah, I mean, that rarely comes into effect, because like you can just target your own stuff with the I-Beams and the Fell Screen Blast, but maybe.
Yeah, but it's a lot harder.
That's true. That is
Sometimes
true.
you need the breakpoint of targeting one thing from your enemy.
Hand is full.
It is notoriously difficult to count past 5 in order to keep your Moags alive when doing the combo.
Not many cards left.
Okay, there's the Il'gynoth. In terms of whether or not this is lethal now, he's got to count it up very quick. I mean, if it is ever going to be, it's going to be right now, and he has to do it because he now has access to +2 spell damage.
Yeah, he could do it
plus
all.
a Moag.
Wait, he could do it all, right? Il'gynoth, double Ethereal is 6, Moarg is 8,
3,
and then
9.
Fellscream Outcast at I-Beam is 9, 10. So it'd be +2 spell damage, doubled. So for Fellscream Blast, that would be 6, 18. For I-Beam, that would be 10. Was it 1 off?
Yeah, I counted 1 off as well.
Time grows short.
And then I was thinking if you can fit in a hero power at the end, but I believe all his mana was used up at
It
that
would
point.
be all of his mana used up, yeah.
But he went about that in a way that I was not...
Wait, did he spend mana on the Chaos Strike? Was the Chaos
No,
Strike free?
he didn't. It was free, yeah.
So that was lethal.
That was lethal, right? I think?
Yeah.
Yeah, because he had... The Fellscream Blast with double spell damage is 9, doubled with the Moag is 18, I-Beam with double spell damage is 5, doubled with the Moag is 10, so that's
10.
28. You are dealing 9 damage with the Fellscream Blast, which manages to bypass the untargetable dragon on the other side, right? So you are allowed
And
to
Chaos
target
Strike for
face.
lethal.
I think that was just a miss lethal there from Maverick, and what
No,
was
but
like...
we count those. We count those. It's the 50% buffer.
Great, well, congratulations, Maverick. You're through to the next round of Swiss. You've been awarded a victory despite throwing there, but what can we do about it?
Yeah,
Joking,
we'll have to go to the OTK judges on that one to see if that warrants being categorized as a victory. Spoiler: it does not. It's just for my own statistics.
Just, I mean, you know, I never want to say 100% the miss lethal is there or not, but obviously we believe that it was. But it was just, if it was the end of a pretty brutal series of turns from Maverick, with misplaying, damaging his minions more than he had to, roping out at the end, just very much knock the clean Demon Hunter gameplay that we expect to see, and in all honesty, a deserved win for XMG.
Yeah, the only way it wouldn't have been lethal is if somehow we made a mistake and the Chaos Strike was not free.
It definitely was.
Okay. But I was, you know, just saying maybe there was an immolation or something. I don't know. I couldn't quite see in those highlights there at the end. Those highlights were too fast and furious. But that does mean the series is tied. It is going to come down to the OTK Demon Hunter versus the Libram Paladin. Yeah, it is just a pretty standard Libram Paladin with Crab Riders, single loot hoarder. There it is on your screen, 1 Libram of Judgment.
Yeah, I'm a fan of this build. You know, it has definitely looked like double Libram of Judgment has been very clunky, to be honest, despite it being quite clearly an incredibly strong card in the deck. You just don't want to clunk up your hands, because when you factor in the 4 charges that you get off Libram of Justice as well, and the 3 charges of a weapon from Libram of Judgment, I like this kind of streamed back version of the deck that XMG has gone for here. And against Demon Hunter, again, I would put this very close to a 50-50 matchup. The Libram Paladin has many ways to present boards that the OTK Demon Hunter simply cannot clear, but by the same metric, if you don't find that immediate pressure and start killing them by like turn 7, you're just dead to the combo most of the time.
Yeah, it can get pretty tough. I actually, you know, tend to lean on the side of the OTK Demon Hunter in this matchup, at least in the right hands. It just feels like Libram Paladin, unless they have like attendant into Hand of a Doll right off the bat and can put on some early pressure and force out like combo pieces and make those breakpoints harder, like force them to deal the full 30 later on, then I think that OTK Demon Hunter just has time.
I am your
But we shall see.
better
I'm
artist.
ready to be proven wrong by XMG here, and Maverick looking to make up for that last game.
Yeah, he's definitely got to get his head back in the game. Just put that one to the side. It's over. It's a new game here, and you have a chance at redemption. All will be forgiven if you can give us a stunning Demon Hunter game here. And it's a very reasonable hand to get things rolling. All of the cards on the left-hand side are playable. So this Spectral Sight very much looking like it can be outcast to keep that card draw rolling very, very nicely for the start of the game.
Reporting for duty.
And not what you want to be doing if you're XMG. Pass turn 1, hero power turn 2. Oh! Ripping it. Solid Pride, though, that's good. I'll take that for turn 3.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've just been told that it, in fact, was not lethal because there was 1 health remaining. I was thinking of it being 9 damage that it does to the taunt on the dragon, but it was, of course, only 6. So apologies there, Maverick. It was, I think, us being an idiot. As I always say, you never want to say 100%.
Demons?
Gotcha.
Yeah, just us being dumb, as is oft the case. I mean, still, as I was saying, you know, not the cleanest gameplay, but much less egregious than we were originally making out.
Oh, Maverick seems to be rolling quite well in this game, though. Got Chaos Strike into Spectral Sight going into the next turn. That's going to cycle 3 cards, plus the Blood Mage Thalnos. Has, even after that, Philosophy, as long as he's picking up a Moarg from all this card draw, and I-Beam are easy to dump out of hand to make that Skull's Gul'dan outcast.
Yeah.
This is a very impressive opening for Maverick, and XMG has had a slow start, not really able to put on much damage at all. So I think Maverick's in a pretty good position here.
Yeah, I just like tempoing out this entire hand. If it means you have to go tempo Philosophy without finding a Moarg, who cares? You can still absolutely win the game with just 3, 2, maybe even 1 Moarg later on in the game. It is all you really need to get the combo done.
I'm going to throw the book at you.
But things now all of a sudden starting to ramp up, at the very least, for XMG. Doesn't want to go with the Tempo Libram, which I think is actually pretty smart because of the threat of a Consume Magic on the other side.
Look at this. Picks up the Moarg off the top. Can I-Beam Aldraki to fill the mana perfectly? Or just Moarg I-Beam? That's even better. And going to be a full clear, heal back up to full, have board presence. Paladin not really known for their spells that deal damage that they can double.
Indeed, yeah. The real problem with drawing that Moarg, though, is just hand space now. If you want to go for the Skull next turn, which he absolutely does, you're kind of looking in the region of going for Ethereal Orc Merchant plus I-Beam on this turn, which is, you know, fine to go for just to be able to amp up the damage yet further.
Time grows short.
You're paying for my discretion.
All right, I like it.
Wants to keep the Moarg healthy.
Mm-hmm. Yep, just correct.
I cannot wait to read these.
Well, the Librams are cheap. That's about all XMG has going for him. I guess Penflingers, but incremental damage and, you know, utilizing Penflingers for board sweeps is not really how you're going to be winning this matchup as the Paladin.
Oh, yeah. Well, as long as you're getting these Penflingers back to hand, I think you're happy with how this shakes out. As he does, clears off the entire board here, but this is just absolute the dream for Maverick here, because you know, if depending on how this goes, you could be facing Libram of Hopes at this point. Lady Liadrin could come down for huge amounts of value, and while the Lady Liadrin is not bad on the following turn, it is, I think, pretty far we can agree from game winning on its own.
Feels like two very different stories of decks right now. XMG's hand is looking quite sad.
Alas, poor Warlock.
Just looking for any card dump here, and Aldraki Warblades, perfect. Great way to just dump some of the cards in your hand, keep the card draw rolling on the following turns, which I suppose has, for the most part now, dried up, but it all just depends on what that double jump can deliver.
Yep. I mean, Libram of Hope is an 8/8. But, I mean, that's about all it has going for it. A 6-mana 8/8, though, even if that's all it has going for it, is still quite a good card. But XMG has not been able to stick anything, so Maverick's got still a good amount of time left before he has to panic too much. And there's Il'gynoth. But no combo pieces discounted, and not even a Fellscream Blast in hand. So we're still a little ways off.
Demons? Demons.
And because Maverick needs to still keep digging deeper here, he needs to kind of make room in the hand.
Right. Which, I mean, I like that he's going for one turn where he dumps all his cards here, and then I would have to imagine plays the double jump next turn, because you don't want to play the double jump halfway through your turn and have no mana to cast the potential skull that could come off the top. So just taking his turn to get rid of a whole bunch of cards in his hand, I think is, again, just very good recognition from him in this game that he wants to get this outcast card in the outcast position just in case it's the skull, and then go for the lethal turn after.
Also like that XMG is continuously putting these Libram of Wisdoms on smaller targets. So that way, if the Consume Magic were to come down, it's not killing two birds with one stone and getting rid of the Taunt, Divine Shield, as well as the Libram of Wisdom. Kind of just making it awkward. Hits the skull.
Absolutely disgusting. This game is looking like pretty much a wrap for Maverick, you'd have to imagine at this point. Fellscream Blast being reduced is fantastic as well. You're just looking for any combo pieces you can get brought down to 0 here.
Yeah, Raging Fellscreamer as well is going to make sure at least the first Moarg be free. So we're looking pretty good here.
The one fear, I suppose, would be Lady Liadrin into... How many would that even be? Like, potentially 8 copies of Libram of Wisdom, which could start to get a little bit scary in terms of actually just delivering lethal. Because if you go double Penfling of Face, first of all, and then Lady Liadrin, I'm not entirely sure how many copies of Libram of Wisdom have been cast thus far this game, but it's potentially approaching the point where you could be scared of lethal.
He didn't even play it on the turn because he's been very conservative. I think he's only played it 3 times or twice. Just because he's been quite conservative. But I like the dump of the 1 mana here, just to get the taunt out of the way to make sure that he doesn't have to spend that 1 mana next turn. But he can fit Il'gynoth, Moarg, that's 6 mana, Ethereal Augmentation 7. He could do all this with the Fellscream Blast. There will be enough minions on the other side to get all 3 with the first Fellscream Blast and his own minions for the second Fellscream Blast. So,
I mean, it's just lethal on the following turn. The question is really just, are there enough Librams here played? And yeah, I mean...
Yeah, it was only 3. Yeah, he was conservative with them because he was scared of the Consume Magic, I think.
Yeah.
So wasn't able to quite juice it up enough. And it also played like Blessing of Wisdom, Hand of a Doll, so his pool was very muddled there. And I feel like XMG has to know, with only 3 cards remaining to go into the next turn, with double Skull being played, one of these marks being free, that unless Spellscreen Blast were the 2 bottom cards for Maverick, that he's dead.
Indeed. Yeah, in the end, Maverick does take the win here, it looks like. I think he's not likely to mess up this combo, given that it was us in the end that was being the idiots at the end of the last game, not him. All is well in the world as he does move up to 4-0 here. Very nicely done, and credit where credit is due. Overall, aside from a couple of blips, a very, very strong series here from Maverick, as we have all come to expect, as I said, from his years of consistent, if slightly under the radar play in Hearthstone, and goes up to a very strong record of 4-0.
Yeah, looking good for top 16. No matter what, he ends the day at the very worst 4-1, which is a great spot going into the second day of Swiss. And because he starts 4-0, it's likely that his tiebreakers are going to continue to improve as he keeps playing against better and better players. So very nicely done by Maverick. And XMG, I think, suffering from the same fate as we've seen a lot of players, at least on stream, suffer from, which is the, oh man, I have Libra Paladin in my lineup. Which, I don't know, it seems to be underperforming. We've seen it win, what, like twice? And we've watched 8 or 9 games of it thus far, at least on stream. Even if we look at the overall data, Paladin is sitting below a 50% win rate. And its win rate against the more popular decks in the field is quite low. Having its best matchup be against Warrior, which is not nearly as popular as Druid, Priest, and Rogue. So we'll see what the top 16 looks like after the Swiss, how many Libra Paladins we actually see there. But I expect to see less than the representation across the whole field is, like proportionate to the rest of the field in the top 16.
Yeah,